Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of this Friday morning show, ready to rock and roll. Final hour of the week. Big sports weekend on tap. We'll get you ready for that, including the Fargo Marathon tomorrow. Get you all ready for that coming up before we say goodbye this morning. Mentioned yesterday, amid all the college football schedule announcements, there was one that may have snuck under the radar if you weren't paying attention to it. We're going to chat about it with our next guest, as the University of North Dakota men's basketball team will get a game with Alabama. You may have heard of them. They made it to the Final Four last year. You may have heard of one of their players as well. As we welcome back to the show, Fighting Hawks head coach Paul Sather on this Friday morning. Before we do any of that, you are a great basketball mind. How in the world would you defend Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving? How do you do that? The Wolves couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. The way they looked, it would be almost impossible to guard them one-on-one, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
And I think they showed that. And I think the thing that made a difference for them was when they did double, they got the guy rim running. When they did double, they found the open three. They pass it so well, especially Luka. And he just finds guys for wide open shots. So not only do they pick you apart one-on-one, but they pick you apart on doubles. And when they're playing at that level, I don't know. There's really no great way to guard them. But getting the ball in other hands is the best, and making other guys have to make plays. And other guys stepped up for them when they needed them. And I thought that was the difference. The shot making ability from either team was the difference in the series.
Yeah.
When the T-Wolves made shots, they were a lot better team. And when Towns hit those shots in game 4, they were a better team. And it gave someone other than Edwards, another guy. And when Nas was hitting shots, they were a better team. But when a lot of this series, they weren't clicking, as Ant said last night at the press conference. They just weren't clicking as well. And boy, Dallas was at a high level.
I look back, and I think you tweeted this out as well. It seemed like Game 7 was it. And I was of the mindset, I think a lot of people were, that Dallas was not going to be an impediment here. Denver, they had to get over them. They did, and then it was going to be on to the NBA Finals. And like you mentioned, and Ann said it, we played the sound to start the show. They just never clicked, because I think everybody thought, well, Dallas will be a road bump. The big one was getting through Denver, and that was not the case at all.
Yeah, I know it's almost like with that team, the Denver, that game, that series, that Game 7 in particular, it's almost like the emotional energy you put in that. It was hard for them to recover. And then you combine that with just how well Dallas played. Like, you got to give Dallas, like, the lively kid and how well he played.
Oh man.
When they were trapping and he was short rolling and picking them apart as a passer out of that high post. Like, and then what he did defensively, he just was such a great rim runner. But what he did defensively for them, protecting that rim was much better than what I would have expected from that kid. So kudos to him and them and how they played, because they played fantastic.
It's fun to watch, though, a Minnesota basketball team playing to May 30th. That was I'll take that every year, man. That was great.
Well, and I hope it's a little indication of these next few years.
Yeah.
You're watching a little bit of The Last Dance with Jordan and what they kind of went through with the Pistons.
Yeah.
And you'd like to think maybe even in today's NBA, there's some, hopefully in the next few years, you'll see a team that progresses on to the NBA Finals and gets a championship. But it's hard. It's winning's really hard.
At any level,
we'll see.
Doesn't matter, right?
Yes.
We're talking NBA or the Summit League. I have to ask, I saw the story. I grinned. I'm like, boy, that's really neat. Give us the backstory, Paul, on how this came about, of getting Alabama to come to Grand Forks for a game this year.
Well, one of the stories up in UND that people still kind of talk about is the Jeff Boschee story, where he was at Kansas and Coach Glass and Coach Herbst was on that staff, but they came back and they played. And that's always something, that comes up in conversations and talks. And we're starving for home games. Coach Stevens, Jamie Stevens, does all of our scheduling, and we work together and this and that. But Jamie does so much of that work, and I just think that conversation came up not long ago between him and Coach Herbst, and I think Esteban Sandoval was in on that conversation. And then when Grant decided to go back for that last year, it just kind of struck a chord with Jamie, and he sent out an email, and the email, I think, coming back was, and it was someone on their staff. that did a lot of their scheduling as well. And Jamie said the message coming back basically was, we love bad ideas. And this might be the worst of bad ideas out there. And so I think, and when Coach Oates got the message, when they went to him, what they said was he just got a huge smile on his face. And basically there was no hesitation. Let's do it. And then from that point on, it's kind of trying to figure out how do we make this work. And our administration and the people, from the UND side, just were awesome to work with. And, Coach Stevens has kind of been the go-between with our program and their program, making it, helping this thing get done. So, it's, be careful what you ask for, right? We're going to get a really good team on our floor that with who they have coming back. And Sears just kind of announcing him coming back. Yep. They're going to be fantastic, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us to get better and go against a team that's not only really good but really long, really athletic, high level offensive team that I thought got better, a lot better defensively. So be careful what you ask for. We know that we're going to be seeing a monster of a team. But let's go compete. Let's have fun, and let's see what happens.
So a text exchange with you and me from February, I think it was, when I tweeted out Grant monster dunk. You texted back at me, "I don't miss seeing that live." So what are you doing? You're signing up to see this guy again. You thought you were done with him.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, be careful what you ask for, because that's exactly right. It's and we also got Wrightsell is a kid from Omaha, and he came up to the Betty and played when he was with Fullerton.
Yep.
And we actually beat them. We beat them when he was with Fullerton. So there's a couple guys that have played on our floor that have been Grand Forks in the wintertime and understand what winters are like. But maybe we need to find a way to kind of get the bus to break down and get caught in some 20 below weather on the way. So maybe they got to walk a few blocks. We got to come up with some kind of gamesmanship, but we won't. We'll treat them great. They'll have a great experience, and I think we'll have an awesome crowd.
I got asked about having the game maybe at the Ralph. Did you entertain that at all, or was it, we want the tight environment, we want to play on our home floor? Because then if you don't, it's a neutral site game, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's something we talked about, and we talked about with Alabama as well. And, our administration and just, what was 20 years ago with that floor at the Ralph is different now. That we don't have a good floor that functions well in there. And so there's a whole lot of other things that would have gone into it. And we just thought it was an opportunity and for them to be willing to do it, that isn't a neutral floor. What a cool atmosphere that'll make. There's arguments both sides, and I'm not going to say either way, you should have done this or we could have done that. Yeah. I think having it on our home floor, I think will make an incredible memory for our team and for our players, but also for them and the atmosphere that they'll have. And you know what? They'll have a few of those atmospheres in their league, and I'm sure he's kind of excited about the opportunity to be on a road in that kind of atmosphere. So, it'll be fun.
So how the schedule will work then, you'll go to Tuscaloosa 2 more times after this then, correct?
Yeah, so year 2, we'll return it. And then year 3, we won't play. And then year 4, we'll come back and return another one. And on both those trips, it'll be an opportunity to go down and maybe pick up another road game that's more against a like opponent. So we'll have an opportunity to play 2 games while we're on the road.
You saw what Grant did especially against North Carolina, and then we were showing the highlights against Donovan Clingan, who's going to get drafted next month in the NBA draft. How did you see his game change, if at all, from what you saw in the Summit League to what he was doing last year?
Well, I think what helped him so much throughout the year was his ability to mentally, from the shoulders up, withstand the ups and downs of making a change to a new program and learning a new level, and just hanging in there, because I would say it probably wasn't the easiest, the most perfect year for him. Yeah. But what you saw in the NCAA tournament, I think there was probably flashes throughout the year, but what you saw in the NCAA tournament, in particular that second half, was a little more what we saw in the Summit League, a little bit more what we saw in our gym when we watched them. And so I think a lot of it is just kind of getting comfortable, finding that role and getting comfortable. I always felt like when he was out there as a 5, he was really, really difficult to guard. He's difficult to guard when he's out there kind of at that forward position as well. But when you open up the floor for his skill set and you open up the middle of the paint with his skill set, He passes it really well. He makes good decisions, and attacking the rim, he's very, very good. So, and his ability to stretch the floor and how much better he's continued to get. But the ball skills and his ability to stretch, and that open floor, it's definitely difficult to guard.
I had Dave Richmond here last week. We were talking about his revamping of his roster. You had to do that as well with two of your players moving on. Give me the conversations you had, with BJ and with Tyree both deciding, okay, they're going to do this. I know you weren't blindsided by it, but can you just the conversation on that and where you're emotionally? Is it frustrating? Is it okay? This is just where we're at in 2024.
Oh, I think by the time this rolls around now, it's more where we're at. Obviously, man, it'd be fun to have those guys back another year. I think you're, like any coach in our league or in the country, we're all affected by this now. With BJ, we knew this was something that was probably going to take place. There was conversations, and when the season was done, I think that's the direction he wanted to go. I think Tyree was a little bit back and forth and trying to decide whether or not. Like I told him as well, and his family dynamic and having a baby and now responsible as a father as well. I think it worked out in a situation for him where he ended up at Wyoming when Coach Linder left, and he ended up getting back in the portal and ended up at Washington. Yeah. And so listen, I'm happy for both of those guys. It's the way it works now, and I think trying to we're all trying to kind of find the niche and how to work in today's college basketball and how it's going. And so I just think if you kind of hold on to bitterness, boy, it eats you alive. And it's the way it's the way college basketball is going right now. And so you've got to find ways to win. So you've got to be open to, we got to make sure we try to find a way to stay old, but also bring in some freshmen that we can develop as well, that bring around. So it's for us. We've got to make sure we're doing our job. And we felt like last year, we brought Tyree in, we brought Eli King in, we brought a guy like Amar in that had a big difference for us. And this year, we brought a Reggie Thomason, who's an NAI All-American. We're excited to see what he does. Darius Woodson was 14 a game for Tyler Junior College, and a guy like Mir Panoam was a 3-star guard. So, we got transfers in that we think can help. Are they going to replace 16, 17 a game in BJ or 15 in Tyree and kind of being that lead guard? Man, I'm excited about Trace and Eaglestaff and Amar and what they're going to bring. Excited about Eli King and excited about the guys that maybe had lesser roles last year that have a chance to step up. So, I think we've got a good nucleus back. We returned 10 guys on this team, a few of redshirted guys, and I'm excited for these high school kids we redshirted in a kid like Mamburo Mara, who came from Africa, got here the first week of school last year, who was a 6'6" athletic freak that I think everything's slowing down for him. So, it's opportunities for these guys, but man, we got a lot of work in front of us. We've just gotta get these new additions in, get to work and see what we have. But it's the way college basketball is. You got to adapt to it. You got to figure it out and find ways to win and not worry about it. You can't live in yesterday, man. We got to move on and live in today and live in the present.
I got to ask you two last things before I let you go. The Basketball Oversight Committee recommended shortening the portal window from 45 days to 30 and making it a week later. Is that help for you? Granted, if you're still coaching, still playing, then is that a help for you guys?
That's a great question. Shortening it, I think gets everybody to have to make a decision a little bit quicker.
Right.
And maybe I don't know if the time needed is 45 days to make a decision if you're getting out, getting in or out. I think pushing it back a week and then shortening it probably helps us. I don't think it necessarily hurts the portal kids. I think it does help us because you're just shortening the window. Yeah. The wait time's less. So I think that helps. But, time will tell. Who knows? There's going to be tweaks and things with it all the time. But I do think the shortening of it definitely helps from a coaching standpoint.
I did want to ask you about a high school guy you added as well from Minnetonka and Grayson Ullman, who won a state championship with a guy who's coming to play at North Dakota State and Andy Stefanowicz. What did you like about Grayson's game, and what can he do for you at the next level?
Man, I think both of those kids, they came from a really good high school program down there, Bryce Tesdall, Minnetonka, and what they do, how they play, how they compete, how they feel the game. You know, what sticks out with Grayson is just he competes.
Mm.
He's a winner on both sides of the floor. I think he's a winner off the court and how he works and what he does. But on the court, he's just so willing. He's a willing defender, eager defender. And he's got such a good feel on the offensive side. He's a guy that can make shots, make plays, and we're excited about his development. We want to bring him in a redshirt him, get him bigger, faster, stronger, and then just let him be a guy that again is part of the future of our program, and that's the plan. We've got a few other guys we feel like that about as well that are going to be coming back that are younger players in our program.
I got to let you go. You got a softball date out there in Dickinson. It's great to see you. I hope you have a little time to relax, and we'll catch up soon, okay?
Hey, go Rough Riders. Let's go.
Good to see you. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Paul Sather, UND men's basketball coach, joining us this morning. Again, December the 18th, it will be Alabama against UND at the Betty Engelstad Sioux Center. They will return, as Sather mentioned, the following year, 25, 26, they'll go to Tuscaloosa, and then 2 years after that, they'll go back. It's one of those 1-for-2s. NDSU's done that a handful of times. Most recently, not most recently. I know Kansas State, they did that when Bob Huggins and K-State came up here. It was one of those deals. It's going to be a monster game. Now, granted, the only thing is the students will be gone by then, I would imagine. Winter break is probably already started, but that will be a tough ticket to get. Devils Lake's own coming back. And I had people say, well, how did NDSU miss out on this? Did they even call? I just don't think this was on their radar. I don't think. Does Grant want to play against his old teammates? I doubt it. Do you want to embarrass NDSU? And I'm not saying embarrass. In fact, that, Alabama's going to be really good again next year. And the Bison, we don't know how good they're going to be. I just don't think that was something that they were looking to do. And UND got the opportunity, and they're going to take advantage of it. More power to them. It's going to be a heck of an atmosphere right before Christmas time. We'll break. We come back. We'll dive a little bit more into the schedule announcements that came out yesterday for the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Some spotlight games there, including to start the season with some big TV matchups. We'll do that when Hot Mike returns. We're back after this.